Just go to here.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
Is it lesson? How many students do we have now? 12. Thanks, man.
15.
So I was actually close.
Ryan. So you're just gonna teach. Just read this. At 6. Okay, just start. All right, we're gonna teach reading section lesson 1, and the first lesson for the reading section will be reading passages.
Okay, so as you know, there's a new SAT, so there will be a new critical reading section. We're going to talk about the major changes in this new SAT regarding the reading section. So first of all, there's going to be one passage dealing with the U.S. and world history, 2 passages dealing with history and social studies, and 2 passages dealing with science. And for the science passages, keep in mind that these are similar to the ACT questions, and they have data interpretation questions that will have you analyze charts and graphs. Alright, so we're going to first of all move to the general approaches to the reading passages. So first of all, you want to skim over the questions and plot them accordingly to the next to the line of the passage. These questions will specify where you can find them in the passage, and you want to plot these questions to allow you to focus your attention to the portions of the passage where you can find important information for answering these questions. Also, you would like to underline any vocabulary that is mentioned in the questions. Second approach. You want to read over the passage carefully, underline key information that helps you understand the passage's tone and main idea. Make sure to box your proper nouns, dates, and time indicators. As you come across plotted questions, make sure to read 2 sentences above and below the plotted area so you can get the general information related to the question. Now, once you finish the passage, make sure to begin answering the question that you were not able to answer on the first run through the passage. And make sure to save the main idea questions for last. You would also like to read through each answer choice to each question and underline 2 or 3 words to make each choice seem or to sum up the general idea of the answer by underlining these key words. And be on the lookout for things that can eliminate, or be on the lookout for things that you can eliminate for each answer question. Now, underline only what separates the answers from other answer choices. And look for patterns within each answer choice. Do not choose the answer choice that looks right except for one word. It is most likely wrong. Half right is all wrong. So if one question is underlined incorrectly, then the whole question is wrong. And keep in mind for any tone shifts within the passage that can be reflected by the first and last sentences of each paragraph. If you're confused about any tone shifts that occur within the passage, go ahead and refer back to the first and last sentence or even the first and last paragraph to help you regain your bearing. And also keep in mind, or try to pace yourself through the new SAT, as the entire reading section is around 53 questions and is an hour long. So you have about 1.25 minutes for each question. Now, we're going to mention some question answering tips. Be sure to read the entirety of each answer choice, and the answer choice should be 100% correct for the whole answer to be correct, even if half of it's true. If the rest of it isn't, then it's all incorrect. In the answer choice, make sure you look for words that make it incorrect, such as absolute language, and that would be like all, never, every, none, only, must. Some extreme language, which is like derision, defile, euphoric, global veneration, etc. And intensifying language, such as too, more, extremely, seldom, and most.
So with the passage says some people are this characteristic, and the answer choice says all of the people have this characteristic, then that answer choice is wrong because it just emphasizes all the people, so it's not correct.
Also, you want to watch out for correct information that doesn't exactly answer that particular question. Make sure that the answer choice only pertains to the section of the passage that the question specifies. Correct answer choices that address the wrong section of the passage are wrong answer choices. Answer choices that match your opinion but don't answer the question are incorrect. So make sure you're not basing your answers off your opinion and only solely on the passage. Questions and their answers are often similar, so use these questions to answer the others. For example, if you see different questions with multiple answer choices mentioning the isolationist nature of wolves, then they're probably the right ones. When you come across something that makes an answer choice wrong, cross out the word and or the phrase, then cross out the letter of the answer choice. This helps you show your work and understand why you eliminated your answer choice. If the question mentions one specific sentence or word, look at the sentence and surrounding sentences if necessary. If the question mentions multiple lines, read the entire paragraph. If the question does not specify any lines, leave it for last. In general, you can look at these introduction, topic, sentences, and last paragraph for these questions. Answer choices that will match the main idea tone of the specific area. If you are stuck between two, the one that most closely matches what the passage says will be right. Be careful not to let what you know for the passage get mixed up with any prior knowledge and bring to the test or info you inference. When deciding between two answer choices, return to the passage and identify any words or phrases that answer choices share with the passage. If you're stuck on a question that is part of a pair that asks for evidence from the passage, start in the second question and eliminate any answer choices of the passage that do not support the first question. Use the remaining answer choices of the passage to answer the first question. When answering main idea and tone questions, which you would say for the last, mark the tone of each of the answer choices. Answer choices with tones that do not match that of the passage can be marked out. Vocab questions are now strictly from the passage. So when you answer questions that pertain to vocab on the SAT, it is often helpful to read the surrounding sections of the passage to gain context. Now we're going to move on to the special case of double passages. The approach of these is similar to that of other passages, but involves some special steps. The first one would be plot questions in both questions as before. Also mark which passage each question deals with. For example, passage 1 lines would be passage 1, passage 2 would be passage 2, and a question with both you'd mark both. Read passage 1, go ahead and underline it in box as before and answer plotted questions as you come across them. Once you finish passage 1, answer all passage 1 questions, underline keywords, and eliminate answer choices as before. Before you begin passage 2, look at answer choices of the both questions. Even without reading passage 2, you can sometimes eliminate answer choices just from reading what you know from passage 1. Now you want to go ahead and read passage 2 and answer its related questions. And then you would finish the both questions last. Here's a few tips. For about every 9 reading questions, you'll have approximately 11 minutes to complete them. So make sure you get your timing right. For the NeoCT, there's no guessing penalty, so make sure you don't leave any questions blank. If you're having trouble deciding between answer choices, try and have what you think the answer is in your head, and then go ahead and match it with the answer choice that most closely resembles your answer choice. If you find yourself short on time, you can scout the passages and determine their difficulties. You can then answer them in whichever order works best for you. Don't spend most or more than a couple of minutes scouting and deciding. In general, there will be usually one fiction passage, a couple of non-fiction passages, and one historical document. The historical document will usually be the hardest to digest. And again, watch your time. Don't spend a huge amount of time on one question. You can flag the questions that are giving you trouble and return to it at the end if you have time. Take many practice tests to gain a feeling of how much time you can spend on hard questions.
All right, so those are the strategies for lesson 1, and we're going to try to practice these strategies on a practice test. Okay, so as we said before, there's 65 minutes to answer the whole reading section, and here's 1 passage, 2 passages, 3 passages, and 4 passages, and then 1 double passage. So there's going to be 5 passages that you have to split between 65 minutes. All right, so let's just go ahead and work through the first passage. So this is the first thing you see once you start the test, and one of the strategies is to actually skip the passage for now and go directly to the questions. This way, you'll save as much time as possible and not focus too much of your time reading information that you don't actually need. So question 1, which choice best describes what happens in the passage? So one of the strategies is to skip questions that ask about, in general questions. You can always go back to them later once you've already read through the passage. Question 2, which choice best describes the developmental pattern of the passage? This is also a main idea question, so we'll skip that and return to it later. Question 3, as used in line 1 and line 65, directly most nearly means. All right, let's go to line 1 and line 65. So the strategy is to read around the directed line. So we're just going to go ahead and read the whole paragraph, even though it only tells us to look at the word directly in line 1. So Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? Would she have been more receptive? Okay, so they're directly used in there. And let's also look at line 65. Let's make sure to read a few lines above and a few lines below. We have an understanding. Please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I asked directly because the use of a go-between takes much time. Either method comes down to the same thing, a matter of parental approval. So the question asks, what does directly most nearly mean? So let's look at answer choice A. Does directly most nearly mean frankly? Now, frankly means truthfully. So is the author using the word directly to convey a sense of truthfulness? Let's look back at line 1. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? Would she have been more receptive? There's nowhere in this paragraph that shows that Akira is not being honest. And there's no evidence that that's saying that he is honest. So therefore, answer choice A can be crossed out and is not correct. Now, we look at answer choice B. Is it confidently? Is Chi being confident by breaking all tradition. Here's if you look back at the lesson says don't let your own inferences influence your answer. Although you might think it's very confident to break tradition, there's no actual evidence saying that he was being confident by breaking the tradition. So therefore, although confidently may seem like a good answer, it is actually not, because you don't let your own opinions influence the question. So now let's look at answer choice C. Does directly most nearly mean without mediation? So mediation means with a process of steps in the middle. It is between the beginning and the end. So does directly most nearly mean without mediation? So here we see had he broke tradition, right? And had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would she have been more receptive? Here you can see that he he actually skipped a step. He skipped a step. So answer choice C could be right. There's no evidence showing that it's not right. But let's make sure and go to line 65 as well. Please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I asked directly because the use of a go-between takes much time. Here, there's direct evidence showing that he skipped steps. And this is the biggest clue that answer choice C is correct. But also make sure to read all the answer choices, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and almost directly circle C already. The last answer choice is with precision. Does directly most nearly mean with being precise? Nowhere in the paragraph, this paragraph or this paragraph, does he show evidence of being precise. He ended up breaking tradition, so that's almost opposite of precise. So the answer choice C is correct. Let's move on to question 4. Which reaction does Akira most fear from Chi? So you can see that this question also doesn't have it doesn't direct us to a specific line. So we're going to skip this question as well and go back to it later. And as you can see, question 5 is linked to question 4. So we will come back to that later as well. Question 6. In the passage, Akira addresses Chi with. This is also a main idea question, so we'll go back to that later too. Question 7. The main purpose of the first paragraph is to. See, this directs us to a specific part of the passage, so we can just read that. So it asks us to look at the first paragraph, so we'll go back to the first paragraph. And we already read the first paragraph multiple times, but I'll read it again. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would she have been more receptive? So is that paragraph trying to describe a culture? Maybe. It does mention a culture, so we'll leave that there. So answer choice B. Does it try to criticize the tradition? Let's look back to see if he actually criticizes the tradition. He may have broke the tradition, but nowhere in this paragraph does he actually say he. Does the paragraph show that they're mad because he broke the tradition? So, criticize may also be a trap word, but remember to not bring any of your own opinions into the passage. So, criticize. There's nowhere in the passage he's criticizing, so we can directly cross out this answer choice. Answer choice C. Is the main purpose of the first paragraph to question a suggestion? Well, if we look back, we can see that in no place is he actually suggesting something. There might be you might look at the question and say, oh, he may be suggesting, but this is not actually a suggestion. This is a rhetorical question. Or is it D, analyze a reaction? Let's look back. Is he trying to analyze a reaction? Akira came directly, breaking on tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form? He's right now. You see, he's asking himself a lot of questions. He's like analyzing. He's analyzing Chi's reaction. Would Chi have been more receptive? So D seems to be like the best answer. And again, we didn't cross out answer choice A, but now we know that answer choice D is better answer than answer choice A. And we can also say answer choice A is wrong because he didn't really describe a culture. It just said that he broke a tradition. He skipped this step, but that doesn't actually describe a culture. So therefore, answer choice A can be crossed out, and therefore answer choice D is correct. Okay, question 8. As used in line 2, form most nearly means. Let's look back at line 2. Had he followed form? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? So form most. Before we even look at the answer choices, we can already see that form most nearly means some type of procedure that they follow, and we'll look for an answer choice that most matches that. Appearance. No, appearance does not mean a procedure. So answer choice A is crossed out. Answer choice B, custom. Yes, custom is a procedure that people follow. So answer choice B seems to be correct. Is it a structure? No, it's actually not a structure. A procedure is not the same as a structure. And is it a nature? No, nature is also not a procedure. So cross out A, C, and D, and you're left with B, custom. Okay. Answer, question 9. Why does Akira say his meeting with Chi is a matter of urgency? Line 32. To read a little bit above. Madam, said Akira, forgive my disruption, but I come with a matter of urgency. His voice was soft, refined. He straightened and stole a deferential peek at her face. In the dim light, his eyes shone with sincerity. We're going to keep reading until we find why he has a matter of urgency. And here he says there's a matter of urgency, so most likely later into the passage it'll say why. So we're just going to keep reading until we find it. Come inside. Get out of this nasty night. Surely your business can wait for a moment or two. I don't want to trouble you. Normally I would approach you more properly, but I've received word of a position. I have an opportunity to go to America as a dentist for Seattle's Japanese community. So here we actually found why the meeting with Chi is a matter of urgency. It's actually because he had a job offer. So which answer choice here shows that he has a job offer? Answer choice A. He fears that his own parents will disapprove of Naomi. No, that's not it. Answer choice B. He worries that Naomi will reject him and marry someone else. No, that's not it either. Answer choice C. He has been offered an attractive job in another country. Correct. Answer choice C is correct. What does answer choice D say? He knows that she's unaware of his feelings for Naomi. No, that's not correct either. So answer choice C is correct. Question 10. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? See, question 10 is related to question 9. So we already found the answer, so we just got to make sure which line we found that in. So we found that in line 40 around 41. So we look for is line 41 a answer choice, and it is. Answer choice B is lines 39 to 42, and that's where we found our answer. So answer choice B is correct. So again, if any of you guys have questions, you can always message the chat. All right, so that's the end of all the questions. So we don't forget to go back and answer the questions you skipped. That's a really common mistake from using this strategy. So make sure you know that you skipped some questions and that you have to go back, that you should go back and answer them. So let's go back. Question one. Um, we skipped this one, so let's make sure to answer this one. Which choice best describes what happened in the passage? Well, you'll realize that after answering these answer choices and questions, we don't actually have enough information to answer this question. But the point of this strategy is that we answer each of these questions, and while we're answering these questions, we actually read bits and pieces of the passage, so we get a pretty good idea of what the passage is talking about. So we can read the rest of the passage quite fast. But I'll just go ahead and read it. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? Would she have been more receptive? He came on a winter's eve. He pounded on the door while a cold rain beat on the shuttered veranda. So at first she thought him only the wind. The maid knew better. She heard her soft scuffling footsteps, the creak of the door. Then the maid brought a calling card to the drawing room for Chi. She was reluctant to go to her guest. Perhaps she was feeling too cozy. She and Naomi were reading at a low table set atop a charcoal brazier. A thick quilt spread over the sides of the table so the legs were tucked inside with the heat. Who is at this hour, in this weather? She questioned as she picked the name card off the maid's lacquer tray. Shinoda Akira, Kobe Dental College, she read. Naomi recognized the name. She heard a soft intake of air. I think you should go, said Naomi. Akira was waiting in the entry. He was in his early 20s, slim and serious, wearing the black military-style uniform of a student. As he bowed, his hands hanging straight down, a black cap in one, a yellow oil paper umbrella in the other. She glanced beyond him. In the glistening surface of the courtyard's rain-drenched paving stones, she saw his reflection like a dark double. Madam, said Akira, forgive my disruption, but I come with a matter of urgency. See, we already read this, so we can read. If you're going through the passage, you can read it extremely fast. But just for anybody who just joined the class, I'll just read. I'll just continue reading. His voice was soft, refined. He straightened and stole a deferential peek at her face. In the dim light, his eyes shone with sincerity. She felt herself starting to like him. Come inside, get out of this nasty night. Surely your business can wait for a moment or two. I don't want to trouble you. Normally I would approach you more promptly, but I've received word of a position. I have an opportunity to go to America as dentist for Seattle's Japanese community. Congratulations, she said with amusement. That is an opportunity, I'm sure. But how am I involved? Even noting Naomi's breathless reaction to the name card, she had no idea. Akira's message, delivered like a formal speech, filled her with maternal amusement. You know how children speak so earnestly, so hurriedly, so endearingly about things that have no importance in an adult's mind. That's how she viewed him as a child. It was how she viewed Naomi. Even though Naomi was 18 and training endlessly in the arts needed to make a good marriage, she had made no effort to find her a husband. Akira blushed. Depending on your response, I may stay in Japan. I've come to ask for Naomi's hand. Suddenly, she felt the dampness of the night. Here we see the passage coming to a climax, and a lot of the passage is revealed right here. So this is really important right here. Suddenly, she felt the dampness of the night. Does Naomi know anything of your ambitions? Referring to asking for hand in marriage. We have an understanding. Please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I ask directly because the use of a go-between takes much time. Either method comes down to the same thing, a matter of parental approval. To give you your consent, I become Naomi's Yoshi. So here, if you won't really know what this word is. So, but there's an asterisk, so, which means that they'll describe what Yoshi means. So we look down here. Here's the asterisk. And here's a definition of what Yoshi is: a man who marries a woman of higher status and takes her family's name. Okay, so now that we know what a Yoshi is, we'll continue. We'll live in the house of Fuji. Without your consent, I must go to America to secure a new home for my bride. Eager to make his point, he'd been looking her full in the face. Abruptly, his voice turned gentle. I see I've startled you. My humble apologies. I'll take no more of your evening. My address is on my card. If you don't wish to contact me, I'll reapproach you in 2 weeks' time. Until then, good night. He bowed and left, taking her ease with effortless grace, like a cat making off with a fish. Mother, she heard Naomi's low voice and turned from the door. He has asked you? The sight of Naomi's clear eyes, her dark brows, gave Chi strength. Maybe his hopes were preposterous. Where did you meet such a fellow? Imagine, he thinks he can marry the Fuji heir and take her to America all in the snap of his fingers. She waited for Naomi's ripe laughter, but she was silent. She stood a full half minute, looking straight into Chi's eyes. Finally she spoke. I met him at my literary meeting. Naomi turned to go back into the house, then stopped. Mother, yes, I mean to marry him. I mean to have him. Sorry. So now that we read through the passage, when you're working through the passage, of course, you're going to skim it more quickly because all this very specific questions have already been answered. Everything else left is more general. So question 1. Which choice best describes what happens in the passage? The answer choice A. One character argues with another character who intrudes on their home. Akira had been really polite, so he wasn't intruding on their home. So you can cross out this, and therefore some wrong is all wrong. So we don't even bother about the rest. Answer choice A is incorrect. Answer choice B. One character receives a surprising request from another character. Yes, she receives a very surprising request from Akira. So answer choice B is most likely correct, but we'll continue. Answer choice C. One character reminisces about choices she had made over the years. No, Akira or Naomi do not think about the choice made over the past years. So answer choice C is incorrect. Answer choice D. One character criticizes another character for pursuing an unexpected course of action. Although the mother had thought Akira's action to be preposterous, she doesn't really criticize him for this unexpected course of action. So the main thing to look at is this keyword. This is an example of extreme language. Although Chi the mother had been surprised, she didn't really criticize Akira. So therefore, that one word made this whole answer choice wrong. So what we're left with is answer choice B, which is also a really good answer choice to the question. Question 2. Which choice best describes the developmental pattern of the passage? Is it answer choice A, a careful analysis of a traditional practice? No, because he broke tradition, so answer choice A is incorrect. Answer choice B, a detailed depiction of a meaningful encounter. Is it a detailed depiction of a meaningful encounter? It was quite detailed. There was a lot of descriptions, and was it a meaningful encounter? Perhaps. Akira was asking for Naomi's hand in the marriage, so there's no direct evidence showing answer choice B is incorrect. So let's just leave that for now. Answer choice C, a definitive response to a series of questions. So he did ask a series of questions, but there was actually no definitive response. There was no response to any of those questions he asked. So therefore, we can cross out this, and therefore, whole answer choice C is incorrect. Answer choice D, a cheerful recounting of an amusing anecdote. Sorry. If you don't know what an anecdote is, An anecdote is basically a story told about the past. So this word cheerful, there's no really evidence showing that this story as a whole was cheerful. So we can cross out this, and already we know the rest of the answer choice is wrong. So, but also this wasn't really an anecdote to begin with. So there's another evidence of why answer choice D is incorrect, and therefore answer choice D is correct. Although this may seem like not the best answer, it is the only one that is not incorrect. So therefore, and again, it asks for the best answer choice. So right here, the best answer choice is B. So we already answered question 3, so we continue. Question 4. Which reaction does Akira most fear from Chi? Is it answer choice A? She will consider his proposal inappropriate. Perhaps. Is it answer choice B? She will mistake his earnestness for immaturity. No. Akira doesn't really express a fear of Chi mistaking his earnestness for immaturity. Is it answer choice C? She will consider his unscheduled visit an imposition. Perhaps. Answer choice D. She will underestimate the sincerity of his emotions. This also may be one, but let's look for concrete evidence showing that this is wrong. Please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I ask directly because the use of the go-between takes much time. Either method comes down to the same thing, a matter of parental approval. So basically you say, don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. Here, this word we see, underestimate, is what actually makes this answer choice wrong. Akira does not fear Chi underestimating the sincerity of his emotions. And also, emotions is another wrong word, because if we look back, it says the candidacy of the proposal, not his emotions. So answer choice D is incorrect. So what we're left down with is answer choice A and answer choice C. So she would consider his proposal inappropriate. That seems like the answer, because it says, please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. Unseemliness is a synonym of inappropriate. And of course, here we see proposal right here, proposal. So these all match with straight evidence. And answer choice A seems like the best answer. But let's also look for evidence to make answer choice C false. She would consider his unscheduled visit an imposition. If we look back here, he doesn't really talk about his visit being unscheduled and how it'll be not great for Chi. In fact, Chi welcomes Akira in the beginning, so that therefore he's not afraid that Chi will think his unscheduled visit is an imposition. So therefore, answer choice A is most correct. Question 5. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? Yeah, and question 5 is linked to question 4. And we already found the evidence for question 4, so let's just look back and see which line that was. That was please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I asked directly. So this is line 63, 64, 65, or 63 and 64. So answer choice C is the correct one. Question 6, we skipped this also, so let's make sure to answer this. In the passage, Akira addresses Chi with, is it answer choice A, affection but not genuine love? No, Akira is not trying to be affectionate to Chi. He's being extremely straightforward. So we can cross out answer choice A. Is it answer choice B? Objectivity but not complete impartiality. Is he trying to be objective with Chi? No, he's actually not trying to be objective. He's taking into consideration both Chi and his own opinions. Is it answer choice C? Amusement but not mocking disparagement. No, Akira's not at all having fun by asking a hand in marriage with Chi. He's being extremely serious. So answer choice C is incorrect. So we're left with answer choice D. Is Akira trying to be respectful to Chi but not utter deference? Yes, there's multiple cases where you can see that Akira is being respectful. Here, he realizes that he may have startled Chi, and he apologizes. That shows that he has respect for her. So therefore, that's a good evidence for answer choice D, and therefore answer choice D is correct. Let's see. We answered question 7. We answered question 8. We answered question 9, and we also answered question 10. So that's it for the first passage. If you guys have any questions, you guys need any clarifications, just ask a question in the chat box, and I'll make sure to go back and answer your questions. So we'll just wait a moment for any questions to be asked. So we just finished the lesson, and there have been no questions, so we're just going to end the lesson here. If you did miss this lesson, don't worry, because there's going to be the same lesson for this at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Make sure to be there on time and refresh the page if the video is not popping up. So thank you for watching, guys.